The Lama Foundation began in 1967 and has become the most long-standing eclectic spiritual community in America. Its location in the mountains of northern New Mexico made an ideal setting for a land-based community dedicated to contemplative exploration, simple living, and heart-centered authenticity. In its active weaving of spiritual practice into daily life, Lama honors all sincere religious and life-affirming paths and traditions.
Oh my God!
Hope turns to horror today in northern New Mexico. Residents of Lama are finally allowed back to their homes.
On May 5, 1996, the Lama Foundation was devastated by an enormous wildfire that swept through thousands of acres of national forest. 105 of the Foundation's 110 acres were burned to the ground. 23 buildings were entirely destroyed, along with most of the trees and vegetation. Miraculously, the 3 central buildings were untouched by the blaze, while raging fires on all sides consumed forest, business spaces, and homes. 2 months later, at Lama's annual meeting, the voting body of the Foundation agreed unanimously that Lama would revision, rebuild, and continue.
I can still see the sunset in the horizon, and I turn around, and most of the places around me, I see black and charred and destruction, and that's in and of itself a spiritual practice for me. It's just facing that and facing that I have to let go.
This destruction of the landscape left us very vulnerable to the impact of wind and water erosion. The loss of the vegetative cover, the loss of the trees and the plants on the ground mean that the soil washes with even very fairly minimal rains. And we've seen tremendous flooding and erosion problems as a result of the fire.
Everything unessential at Lama fell away. People didn't have pillows or socks or toothbrushes. People didn't have homes. People didn't have regularity. People don't have the focuses that they had. They're gone. The cottage industries are gone. All the physical world, the business of Lama was burned up. But the sacred temple of Lama remains. And that, to me, is an enormously wonderful statement about remember what it's really about.
There's people all over the world, thousands and thousands of people who visited the place, or have lived here, or have read Be Here Now, which was published here and written here in the late 60s. And so automatically we realize that it's a huge family. It seems incumbent on us to keep that going because it's so obviously very much alive. We lost a lot of buildings, but our main dome and our kitchen, both the old and new kitchen, are still there, which in a lot of ways are the heart of the place. It just seemed like a very clear message that we should continue.
When the fire came and we thought that everything had been destroyed, I was willing to be somewhat philosophical, wonder whether we should continue, should we dissolve? And it was so clear when the surviving buildings remained, it was like a message saying, of course you should continue.
The trees are gone. There's no doubt the trees are gone. But the heart of this place is stronger than ever. And you feel it every day in the people that come up here and come up to help us and come up to help rebuild and to help do reclamation. We keep saying, well, it wasn't the trees. What is it?
Coming here at the age of 30 and actually discovering what your values are for the first time in your life, but that was the case for me. To come here and be in a space, be allowed to be in a space where I could be myself, completely myself, without any judgment.
People can come and sample many different spiritual traditions and find one that suits them. It's a place where we look at the differences between traditions and embrace them in a field of unity.
In some way, it's a primarily American place in which the whole point of this country, people came here for religious freedom, being able to congregate together, to do Shabbat, to do Mass, to do Sufi dancing, to sit alone and sing, to turn in the middle, for children to play in, for musicians to be able to play and tune into their holy selves. And the prayer room where people can find a silent space, which is like a beacon of hope. You go into that prayer room and there have been so many people who've sat there from so many different disciplines. You don't have to be a Buddhist, you don't have to be a Christian, you don't even have to believe in God, but you can go into this room that's been silent and had a candle burning for 25 years and you can feel that there are safe places in the world in which nobody is going to tell you you're wrong.
That sense of Lama being a haven, sometimes people get that sense just by coming up for a visitor's day, a Sunday afternoon of delicious free vegetarian lunch and some Sufi dancing, maybe a walk around the land with some of the residents. I think people feel that in the people who live there, a focus on what's most essential in all of our natures to keep us sane.
I do believe that everyone who has been at Lama for any length of time and left has left more fully human than when they got there. And the opening of the heart has much to do with it, as well as the forced experience and practical skills. Being closer to the edge of survival at 8,600 feet, there are a lot of physical demands on the people who live there. It's not an easy way.
It was winter when I came up to live here, and I was 14, and I was on my own. I left home. But that early connection with Lama planted the seeds that have made my life.
I do believe that the heart of Lama Foundation is communication with all beings for the awakening of consciousness, whatever that may mean to any individual. I just hope that it can keep going.
For me, this place has more love and more devotion than any place else I've ever been. We get to grow here. You know, we call ourselves beans, and that's because we cook here. We're Lama beans, because you really cook on this mountain. And as you know from this video, we've really cooked this year.
We get a lot done here, whether it be gardening or cooking or building. What I learned is invaluable, and I can take these skills with me out into the world. I believe that doing allows you to work through emotions and problems and pain.
Because the psychological and the physical are connected with a spiritual discipline, that when people go back into the world, their intuitive powers and their connection with everyone else and their connection to the Holy Spirit is much stronger. And so a lot of times people re-enter the world with a much more positive view about both themselves and everyone else.
By the time I left Lama the first time, I felt that I had a reason for being thankful for this life. Even if the world was filled with suffering, it was a gift. And I think that the spiritual perspective that Lama's daily practice offered me was a great help in this direction. Practical spirituality, I guess you could call it.
People could come and learn a broad range of skills that would help them in almost any walk of life that they chose to have after they left here. They learn about self-confidence, they learn about taking responsibility, and they learn about treating other individuals with respect and love and care. And coming from that orientation always when they deal with everyone who's here. So in that way, they learn basic internal living skills that are so needed in the world.
The primary population there now is people in their 20s and 30s. And again and again I see people coming there who are coming out of our culture without a place where they belong, without a place that makes sense to them, in a world that from some points of view is hurtling into a kind of insanity. Lama's not about dogma, Lama's about experience of divine presence, and they get it there.
Young and old alike can come there, both to live or for seminars, and can find a very full plate of possibilities.
I believe that places like Lama are pushing the evolution of the species.
By learning to come from a heart-centered place as we deal with people is a way that we can change the world.
Since the fire, we've had support from a really broad range of people. And a lot of people who, in some cases, have never been to the foundation. There seems to be a sense that Lama Foundation is important to the world. We've seen so clearly that, yes, it is valued, that this work has changed the lives of many people, not just the residents, but people who've just come through for an afternoon or spend some time alone in one of the hermitage houses. It gives us the strength to rebuild and a clear sense that we're not rebuilding the foundation just for ourselves. We're rebuilding it for our children and our children's children, your children's children.
I feel passionately about this effort. One of the reasons we're asking for help is although we can mobilize an enormous amount of goodwill and effort, we also need materials and we need some professional skills to be able to help us deal with the extent of the problem.
So people say to me, do we have insurance? Did you have insurance when you lose 10 buildings and all of your living spaces? And I say, at one level, no, we didn't have that kind of insurance. But yes, we have amazing insurance. And our insurance is in the hearts of everybody that's come to this mountain and been touched like I've been touched by it.
We're really hoping that we can get our facilities going so we can continue to serve so many people. And it feels like, you know, this is what we're here to do, is to serve this place which serves so many.
We'd like to have a really good facility for retreatants. We'd like to have all-around winter housing for all ages, from infants to older people. We'd like to have a minimum comfort so that we're not relying completely on very rugged and hardy pioneer types. Those people are essential because that spirit of adventure is part of what brings people and gives people energy. But I think we need a broader and more rounded community.
The degree of comfort that is necessary to make it possible for people who have grown up in an extremely physically comfortable world, how much roughing it we want to have. I mean, we all liked it very rough in the beginning, but there are a lot. We want also to be open to people who really don't want to get their feet dirty and who want to be able to stay clean all day, which is one of the reasons now we can make new dormitory housing and maybe a bathhouse for people who come up for these retreats, so that it would be more bearable for them. Because I think for half the middle class people who come to Lama, it's been something that they've done, but there's been a physical hardship that was a little beyond your capacity to overcome, so that the spiritual offerings were often so much tempered by that, and they never had time to get used to it.
There are going to be grassy meadows with wildflowers and new solar sites, so that we can build homes that make sense for people. Now we can accept the resources that come to us and build something beautiful and sustainable and comfortable. And the work ahead of us is almost overwhelming sometimes. Lama will ask as much as you have to give, I have found. And now it's like having to give a little more than you feel like you can all the time.
Help here helps everyone. And we are interrelated. We are connected.
By the year 2000, we're going to see Lama in a whole different place on the planet. Its outreach abilities are going to be so much greater, God willing, because its facilities will be able to accommodate people in a greater way than they have before.
We need to build beautiful structures in order to maintain this sense of beauty, and it's going to be a struggle, and it's definitely weighing upon me and various members of the community, and yet it's such a joyous process. So hopefully we'll be able to build buildings that are like those flagpoles, that are sustained and held within the face of destruction, and create a sense of beauty and remembrance always.
So Lama as an entity went through death and dying, and what's left is very great. It's so full of so much love. So many great beings have walked there, and that doesn't change at Lama.
We want to move together as a community, as a circle of members, as a board, as an advisory board. So we'll do our best as fast as we can.
We will rebuild, and we will recharge in that rebuilding. We will rededicate ourselves to this work on this mountain. And then we rededicate ourselves to not only ourselves, but to all of you, to every person that has shared or will share in the future in retreats or hermitages, or just walking on this sacred place.
Everything in me says yes when Lama says, "Can you help?"
And the way we're going to do this is with everybody's help. We have the desire, we have the intention, we don't have the cash. But with the desire and the intention, the rest I know will come.
Lama Foundation is seeking and gratefully accepting donations and support. Help ensure the continuance of this unique retreat center and service community.